Hey you guys, how you doing? Welcome back. Welcome back to another session of the self-esteem series. And so far we've gotten a lot of information from this series and we are happy to welcome back Angie. Remember her from our previous video and she shared with us so much information. It was so enlightening and we are happy to have her back. Welcome back, Angie.
Thank you.
Alrighty, so we're just gonna jump right into it. But before we do that, you guys, if you have not liked, subscribed, if you've not shared the link for a video, if you've not been following us, please join the family. Welcome. We are happy to share our information with you. But today we are talking about self-esteem in the battered woman. And I think we would have mentioned, I'm not sure if we did, that Angie is a social worker. So we are so happy to have her here. And so Angie, tell us a little bit about what you do in terms of social work as it relates to the battered woman.
Okay, good day to you viewers. Welcome again to our, very interesting program. And for me, I work directly with victims of domestic violence, with women and their children.
Lovely. So Angie, today I want to talk a little bit about self-esteem in the battered woman. Why is it important for this battered woman who's going through so much to have a good self-esteem?
Okay, first of all, when you have intimate partner abuse, it inflicts a lot of pain physically, emotionally, psychologically. And most of all, psychological and emotional pain surpasses the physical, like I always say, because with the physical you can see it, but with the psychological and emotional you can't see it. And this is what really hurts a person. I'm not just going to say a woman, but both male and female are victims sometimes, but it's just more prevalent among women. And you have when your self-esteem is taken from you, because a lot of the times you are verbally abused and you are being said really deteriorating things that really breaks you down, and you no longer feel that self-worth, that value, because when it is said to you daily, it will just take out so much from you, even if you have been as strong as the lion's roar. But I just want to say to anyone who is being abused at this time to be comforted, remain hopeful, because when you are determined to get out of any relationship that is unhealthy, there is always a way for you.
Thank you for that. So I have a few questions as it relates to this battered woman in the relationship. Is it every time that a woman enters into, like, finds herself in a relationship where she's being abused, whether it be physically or whatever other way, that there are different forms of abuse, right? Is it that this woman is entering into the relationship with a low self-esteem, or could it be that relationship could break her self-esteem?
I wouldn't say that she will enter a relationship with a low self-esteem, because there are women that know exactly what they want. And sometimes you are misled into a relationship. That's why we as women have to be very vigilant and know exactly what we want. And there's something called self-determination that will allow you to remain or move on. Now, if you as a woman, we are dealing with women now, so I'm going to stress on women. So if you as a woman sees the relationship is unhealthy and there are signs, it is called the signs of the signs of the abuser, profile of the abuser. And in the relationship, if you are given a curfew as an adult as to what time to return home, you are not allowed to socialize even with your family and friends. You are not allowed to have a job. Okay, so when these things are forced on you, these are red flags that you should notice early o'clock for you to say, this is not where I belong, I need to get out. But if you choose to remain and you feel my partner loves me so much that he doesn't even want me to work, He loves me so much that he doesn't even want me to interact with others lest they contaminate me, because I am this person that is very valuable to him. Then you are making a mistake, because these are red flags. So when you enter the relationship, you're supposed to know exactly what you want and see all the unhealthy signs that you can free yourself from it. Because what happens when you remain in an unhealthy relationship and then you are manipulated? That's the problem. That is the danger. Because sometimes you are brainwashed. You are just succumbed to every command that perpetrator, that partner of yours will present to you. And sometimes they present it so beautifully that you fall prey for it. And when you are trapped emotionally, you see that, wow, you mean there is no way out for me? But there is always hope. There is always a way out. Because when you really need to get out, you could contact a friend, you can contact a family member, because there are times that he leaves the house, he goes to work, and if you are privileged to have a phone, then you can make a call and get help from it. So don't allow anyone, especially your partner, to bring you down. You have to know that you are valuable, you are precious, you are royalty, because most of all, you are a child of a king. And when you are a child of a king, there are certain treasures that come to you directly because of who you are.
Thank you for that. So I have heard, I am obviously not speaking from experience or from read knowledge or any book knowledge that I've read, but I've heard that one of the things that the abusers do is that they break you and then they give you that false sense of like security, and it's almost like they're making you again. So they break you to make you, but then they make you in the sense that to please them and whatever it is that they want. For the person with that is entering into that relationship with a good self-esteem, I could see there's a potential for that. But my thing is, if I have a good self-esteem, why am I allowing, how is it getting to that point where I'm allowing somebody to break me? Shouldn't my self-esteem present a defense for me in that sense?
Interesting that you should say that. There is a stage called the manipulative stage. Okay, then when the act is done, the negative act is presented, they are very apologetic. And then you succumb to it because you say, yes, I love that individual. He is willing to change. So I am going to make an extra sacrifice to save that relationship. So he goes, he buys you beautiful things that you have never seen before, because he says that I love you, I am sorry, and I am willing to try again. So you say, yes, he is willing. It was my fault. And you blame yourself, which is not supposed to be, because you did nothing to get that reaction from that individual. And when that is done, the danger in that, this cycle continues. Every time it escalates and becomes worse than before, until, if you are not careful and if you don't get help in time, then you can succumb to your death, which is unfortunate. So then you say, but how can somebody with such strong self-esteem remain in a relationship like that? Sometimes you stay because of the children. Sometimes you stay because that's the only person you knew from the age of 12. And unfortunately, sometimes because of poverty, your parents would give you away to that individual, have that individual take care of you, buy your books, send you to school, and there comes payment. Right? That sounds real harsh, but this is the harsh reality of life. There comes payment and you are the payment. And when you are emotionally entwined with an individual, it is very difficult for you to get out of it. And sometimes people stay because of sex. They get in good sex from that individual. So because he's drunk, and he doesn't drink every day, so I'm going to tolerate him. Only when he drinks, he hits me. Only when he drinks, he abuses me, So I'm going to stay. When he is calm, it's different. What are you saying to yourself? What are you saying to your children, especially if you have girl children? And these children are forced to adopt these behaviors because that's what they see, that's what they learn. So then this just continues and it goes into the schools. Unfortunately, that's how you have bullies because that's what they know. And unfortunately, if these children do not get help as child witness, that's what it's called, child witness of violence, then they grow into adults and the cycle continues. That bitter, ugly cycle continues.
So you're saying that even with the battered woman, and you speak about that cycle, uh, it would also affect the self-esteem of the children
Yes.
from witnessing all of this abuse. Wow. How would you, just because you've mentioned it, I want to just touch on it and then we're going to move on to my next question. How would you advise? Because although they say like if you're broken, there's you cannot give what you don't have. But I think if somebody, for example, a woman, is in a relationship and she's staying in because of the children, that means she loves her children.
Mhm.
So I'm saying that um perhaps this woman is not ready to leave, and I'm not advising that she should leave and do whatever or not leave, but that's not where my question is lying. My question is, how could you advise this woman to help her children in that sense, so like it reduces the effect that it has on the children, especially as it relates to their self-esteem? Is there anything that she could do?
Yes, I would encourage her to seek counseling. And there is an emergency number that can be used. It's 202, it's a hotline, it's a 24-hour service that you can call and get the help that you need.
Is that hotline just for St. Lucia or is it a worldwide hotline?
Yes, it is Saint Lucia.
St. Lucia,
Saint
right?
Lucia.
Just to specify. Um, Great. So my other question would be for now, if this woman leaves the relationship, how would you, because she's leaving but she's still broken, how would you advise her to start building herself? And I'm not just speaking like financially, and I'm speaking about her self-esteem. How can she begin to love herself again?
If you notice, my composure today is very different because this is a very sensitive topic. And I'm also wearing the color purple because this is a color that we use for intimate partner abuse when we do sensitization and stuff. And I always stress on support because in most cases you have unemployed single parents, and when you are unemployed you are dependent on the man, on your spouse. And the most dangerous thing that can come out of that, sometimes the abuse is never directed at the children but only to the mother, and it is done in such a subtle way that the children never notice that he's abusing the mother. And especially with boys, they hold a lot inside and they become very angry. And when you try to take away these children from their father, who loves them, who they see as a mentor, who they see as this adorable daddy who takes care of us, how can mommy say that? Then you have a lot of a tug of war between the two parents, and there are so many other negative things that can arise from this. You have children regressing in school, they wet their beds again, even at the age where they have passed wearing pampers, and they isolate themselves and they feel unloved and neglected and rejected. But the good thing that can come out of this is when this woman who has decided to leave because of self-determination, that she has a support system, a good support system, whether it be a family member or a friend that can really help her, providing that she is determined to leave and will not return to the abusive partner. Another thing I would recommend is that that partner gets help, because sometimes when you find the help is focused for the woman, the man stays undressed. And I mean, when I say undressed, he's not empowered to know better, to do better. So he stays in that kind of behavior. And if he decides to have another partner in his life, he will still inflict the same abuse on that partner because there was no change for him. So I'm also recommending change for the abuser. But at the
Thank you
end
so
of the
much.
day, yes, at the end of the day, it is support, support, support.
So then, even so, we see now that even for self-esteem for the battered person, self-esteem on the whole, outside support is even needed, especially in a situation like that, to help you rebuild your self-esteem, and not from any bad place, but just to help you keep going on with your life.
Yes, yes,
And this is like life and death. This is so serious.
yes, it
This is
is.
so
It is.
this is so serious that is it, would you say, from just off your head, is it common that women in battered relationships would, and this is like a very off topic sort of, but like, wow, would you say that women in battered relationships like resort to suicide and that stuff because they cannot like move on after that trauma?
Yes, that's one of the reasons because sometimes you feel so battered, so bruised, so depressed, so alone in that you become lonely, and loneliness in itself is a disease. And you feel like you really cannot make it. You are unemployed, you cannot do anything for your children, and children look up to their parents, especially their moms. And you see, boy, what else can I do but contemplate suicide? But I'm saying to you, suicide is not the answer, because when you do that, you leave more pain behind. You leave a lot of unanswered questions for your children. And your children still look up to you because they love you. You are mommy. And no matter what, even if it's one bread you have, you will stay without as a mother and make sure your children are fed. They are clothed, they are loved, they are protected, because this is the natural instincts of a woman.
I think thank you so much. Going into this series, I didn't even like, I don't think
Vision,
I really
yeah.
embraced how deep it was going to get and how significant it is. I mean, like, I knew it was important, but now going into the nitty gritty of it, you could see like this is a life and death we're speaking about.
Yes, yes,
And
certainly.
I feel like I'm getting emotional.
I
like,
realize.
like I'm getting emotional about this because I am very passionate about especially women in that are disadvantaged and that are in these situations. And sometimes I feel like society is very harsh on them in a sense that like, oh, I'll just leave. But then I don't think it's always that easy for them because there are other factors that they consider. I used to be that way. It's like, but why don't you just leave? And things will sort itself out, but it's not always that way. And wow, this is
Imagine, imagine, let me interject a little bit. Imagine you are telling a battered woman, just leave. What provision did you make for her so that she can continue with her life? When she leaves, where does she go? Sometimes these women have 3, 4, 5 children. And you know the unfortunate thing? You went to get help for the first. You had bread, so you're going to look for butter. Butter turned to jam. Jam turned to peanut butter and jelly. And all of these are different fathers. And these different fathers just consider you useless, you worthless. You just have men just passing on you like the normal language that we use in St. Lucia, which is very deep, very humiliating, and we don't even understand sometimes what happens, what that person's story is. Because unfortunately, sometimes these victims have been abused as children by their own family, by their father, by their uncle, by their brother, right there in the home, and they didn't have a voice. That's all they knew, and they thought that it was okay. So when a gentleman comes to them and brings all his beautiful words, his handsome self, his financial gain right before you, you're already vulnerable. You're already vulnerable, so you'll fall prey for it. And if you are unable to pray yourself out of this situation with the support that is needed for you to go through another day, you will not make it. And people must learn to understand and empathize with these women. Instead of shunning them and looking down at them, lend a hand. Find out, greet them, just listen to their story. Everybody has a story. And you will be so amazed to hear what this person has gone through or what they are still going through. And then when you have that heart, that childlike attitude in you, you are definitely going to seek help for that individual. Definitely.
Thank you so much, Angie. This has been a very serious topic.
That's so emotional, eh?
I'm very excited. I'm very happy that we went through it. I think there's so much more to cover, even in that, and I like the fact that you even brushed up on the man, and I think maybe it's important to even address that self-esteem in the abuser. And what I gathered a lot from what you're saying is that low self-esteem places you in a very vulnerable place, especially as a woman, if you're entering into a relationship or if you're in a relationship. And if you're so unfortunate as to come into a relationship with somebody who's an abuser or who's hurting themselves, then it makes it you move from bad to worse. So it's so important that you love yourself and you know what you want. Like you said, that you go into this place you go into a relationship from a solid place. Wow, I'm getting too emotional with this topic, but I am so happy we did it. Do you have any last words?
Yeah, I would just like to point out some signs of the abuser so that for especially the young women who are entering into relationships from age 18 and up, or sometimes as early as 16, that there are signs you should look for. You know, sometimes the abuse is so subtle that you do not even see it. Sometimes you see partners hold each other's hands in public, and that looks so lovely. Oh gosh, I am touched. I would like to have a relationship like that. Surprisingly, you know what could happen during that time? The abuser can be squeezing, literally squeezing the hand of their partner to have them conform to what they want to do at the moment, and you will not even notice that. Only the victim can tell you. Then you have the outbursts, verbal outbursts, remarks that are so hurtful, telling you real bad things about yourself. And some of the abusers are so, what's the word I should use, Lord? It's not a pleasant word. They are so cruel that they will tell you things like, you smelling, you are a nobody, you will never get ahead in life. And worst of all, you can never get ahead without me, because they have built you in such a way that they have made you believe that only you can make them be somebody. Do you understand what I'm saying? That without them, you cannot get ahead, because they have made you so dependent on them. And the worst thing you can do is be emotionally dependent on anyone, because then they control you. They have complete control over you mentally. You know, sometimes if they tell you jump, you will not even ask how high or where to. You will just jump. You will just jump. Now, you need to be very vigilant and look for those signs, and do not fall prey. Do not be so put yourself in such a vulnerable way that you cannot get ahead without a partner. But you need to get that independence. Find employment. There are different ways that you can get employment. And these days, because of the COVID, you see what has happened. People has learned to do so many different things, and now they are self-employed. And you can be somebody, because a lot of you are educated. You went to good schools. You know, and education don't just come with a paper, but wisdom prevails. And sometimes when your parents speak to you, you always think like, you did your share, so it's my turn. Let me make my own mistakes. But if good wisdom prevails, I would encourage you to take the advice so that you can prepare yourself for a better tomorrow.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Angie. I feel that we have covered a lot. We're going to end this video now. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is not the jovial video, because this is a very serious topic. Thank you guys for watching. If you have not subscribed, go ahead and do that. Please share the link. If you don't subscribe, if you don't like, that's fine. Share the link with somebody who needs it, because this information needs to get out there to the right people. I'm so passionate about this, that this information gets out there to the right people, to everybody, because every day a new victim could be formed
Yeah.
from not getting that information, and we don't want any victims. We are victorious people. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Angie, again for coming. Yes, we're
God,
so happy and grateful
God
that
bless.
you did.
God bless. Yes. Thank you.
Bye, you guys. Bye.